what is it going to be like if you're in the restaurant business or the hotel business or the mall business in the foreseeable future as they begin to open up starting Monday? I'm now joined by a very special guest. Priya Paul is the chairperson of the Park Group of Hotels. A.D. Singh is the restaurateur and the MD of the Olive Group. Dr. Ashutosh Raghuvanshi is the MD and CEO of Fortis Healthcare. And Arjun Sharma is the chairman of Select Group. I'll start with you, A.D. Singh. I don't know if you heard my colleague a moment ago talking about these new guidelines that have been issued by the Ministry of Health, talking about the eating out sector. You have to have a disposable menu. You have to have a limited number of customers. How is the whole in-dining experience itself going to change, in your opinion, in your assessment, starting Monday?
So the experience will definitely change. Every restaurant has to put measures in place to minimize the risk to customers. And we have to give customers comfort, otherwise they won't come back. At the same time, I'm hopeful. We all adapted to the way the airport experience changed, and I'm hopeful that customers will soon adapt to the new, slightly intrusive steps that have to be put in place. All of us restaurants, of course, are working hard to make the experience as good as it ever was. And I'm confident that after a little period of time, it will be, and customers will come flocking back for it.
Tell me this.
Definitely
in terms of
dining,
volumes, right, Mr. Singh? Let's say, for example, you have 50 tables at one restaurant. You obviously won't be able to run all 50 tables. You'll probably be able to run half of it. What may that mean to your volumes going forward?
So all of us are very worried about our numbers because, most of us do good business Friday night, Saturday night, and there you'll have to run at half capacity. Those nights, most of us are full, we'll be half full. Rest of the time, anyway, we're not running full, so we'll run at maybe, let's say, 70% effectively of capacity. But it's a big setback. The second setback for the industry is the 9 o'clock curfew. Because we'll have to close by 8:15, so that our staff can also get home in time, our customers can get home in time. And thirdly, unfortunately, is the issue with liquor. We find that totally unnecessary. All restaurants will have to make sure that there's no crowding, follow all the norms, whether laid down by government or as customers expect. But then why can't customers get liquor in the restaurant? That is an important part of the experience. Wine with dinner, whiskey with their meal. So when you cut that out, the revenue numbers for restaurants are looking very grim. And I know that many of my fellow restaurateurs are very worried about whether to open at all. But all of us are so keen to get going again that the minute it's allowed, we will open and do our best to survive.
Let me bring Priya Paul. She runs the Park Group of Hotels, one of the largest chains in the country. I mean, just like A.D. Singh's restaurants, you two have been shut for the better part of the last 3 months. You'll open up starting Monday, but how different is the experience going to be? We've just got these latest set of guidelines from the Ministry of Health saying that, for example, very simple thing. You have to ensure, the onus is on the hotel management to ensure that luggage that guests bring in, patrons bring in, has to be disinfected before it's sent to the room. And that's the smallest thing I'm talking about. A.D. Singh's just outlined, what changes are going to be in your in-dining experience at your restaurants. But just walk us through how may the whole hotel industry, the hospitality sector, change in a post-COVID world?
Thanks. Hi. Great to be on your program. Now, so we have 22 hotels, and despite the lockdown, about 10 to 11 of them have been in operation since the beginning. So over time, we've actually put a lot of these hygiene and safety protocols also for our team members and for the guests who've been with us. And some of them are guests who've been stranded, some are now doctors, some are quarantine passengers. So all of them have gone through, and we have the highest standards of safety and hygiene that have been implemented over these past few months. And the protocols are in place. Not just in our company, but in every single hospitality or retail or any business. So I think that's part and parcel of what we're going to be doing right now. So whether it's actually giving individual hygiene kits instead of other amenities, but sanitization of luggage is just one step. It's just It's first getting all those objects sanitized, but more importantly, the floors, the walls, all the places that your hands touch. And certainly going into the rooms, that whole experience is already different to the existing customers that we have. There's very little servicing that goes on. Sometimes, guests may be just asking to do the servicing after 2 or 3 days because they don't want any cross contamination potentially being there.
All right.
Our staff wear hazmat suits. So it's a different type of service. And I think for the next foreseeable few months, that's what it's going to be, because that's safety, security, which is paramount.
Let me go across now to Arjun Sharma, who runs the select group of malls across Delhi NCR and, of course, across the country. One of the big concerns, Mr. Sharma, has been, retailers, or even for that matter, restaurateurs who are inside malls. For the last 3 months, they've been shut out of business. There was this famous clip of a very famous restaurant chain owner, which went viral over the weekend, talking about how he has no money and he's asking patrons to support him. Do you think that this is going to be a big point of friction between mall managements and the retailers inside? Because the retailers, many of them, are saying that, look, we don't have money to be paying these high fixed costs, these high rentals to you folks.
Yes, these are indeed challenging times for retailers, for shopping centers, and for the whole world, actually, really. And no industry has been spared it. We've been dealing with this lockdown now for 3 months approximately. And I think over time, we've had several dialogues with all our retailers, be it restaurateurs, bars, cinemas, apparel. And I guess we are working out solutions for them. We understand their pain. But they also understand our pain, because really at the end of the day, we can only give what we've got. And all that we've got is about a 6 months moratorium on our interest payment. There's nothing else that we've got. But however, we still understand that especially the restaurant industry is going to face some pains. So I guess there will be some sort of a formula which will be of reasonableness. But I think retailers will also have to realize that they'll also have to kind of bear some of that. If they expect that only shopping centers or the high streets will absorb it, I think that's going to be very tough. But I think if both sides approach it with reasonableness, I think there is already a winning formula. And I think we're already having very good dialogues.
Yeah, can you give me a ballpark figure? I mean, I don't want you to go into the details, but ballpark figure of the number of retailers across the country in your different malls who are actually asking you for revised terms for rentals.
Oh, everybody. You must realize that everybody's had this problem. Retail has really suffered it. Restaurants and hospitality and travel and tourism has taken it on the brunt, on the chin completely. So I guess everybody is doing it. And, it's not just, ironically, it's not just these small companies. It's even the big companies. I don't want to name them, but some of the biggest businesses and some of the biggest banks also are asking their landlords to renegotiate the rent. So I guess that's fine. This is what happens. And I think we all have to work together to find a reasonable solution.
One of the concerns, Dr. Raghuvanshi, has been, while the entire media focus and everybody's attention has been so gripped by COVID, one of the things that's popped up, and I don't think we're talking about it enough, is non-COVID treatment. How concerning is that situation? Particularly, I believe a lot of people are opting out or simply preferring not to have elective surgery or non-emergency surgery, so on and so forth. How much has that had a bearing on your business?
Yeah, so to start with, I think there was a massive fear for patients to come to the hospital. And then there were logistic challenges for people to get to the hospitals as well. So most of the people who required chronic treatments like chemotherapy, radiation, dialysis, etc., those patients suffered a lot. And as you know, that if you delay such treatments, actually the outcome becomes poorer. So that was a big concern. The first month of the lockdown, we saw the numbers going down very, very significantly, so much so that our occupancy levels came down to about 25%. But that has gradually started increasing. A lot of measures, just like what was being spoken about in hospitality, a lot of measures to support the cross-contamination should not happen, and visible confidence building measures for these patients who come to the hospital, like segregating them from the entry itself, and all the staff being in protective gear, and treating that every patient is a potential victim or a patient. So with that, I think things have started resuming to a bit normal. I would say normal, but a kind of a new way of handling patients in the hospital.
All right, let me go back to A.D. Singh. And, part of the in-dining experience, Mr. Singh, was about, meeting people, socializing, just generally having a good time, right? Clearly, until a vaccine comes along, and God knows when that's going to happen, maybe a year from now, people are going to be wary about, meeting in big gangs or coming out to places where there are large groups of crowds. How may the experience of socializing / in-dining experience itself change once your restaurants are up and running for people from the customer point of view?
Well, I think, the customer, he loves to see and be seen. We are all social animals. We enjoy going out, meeting friends, family, bumping into new people, bumping into old friends. There's no doubt that at our restaurants, the numbers will have to be halved at least. For example, I don't know if you know, Zaka, in Bombay, my Olive is now in its 20th year. And that's largely, I think, due to our Thursday bar night. Mm-hmm. That Thursday bar night rules the scene for the last 19 and a half years. It's jam-packed, everybody comes. It's a great way for new people to get to see the restaurant, get to know us, come back again. All that we will be stopping for now. Yeah. We'll be having people only on tables. So there's a level of socializing, looking, seeing, and being seen. But we have to be careful. As Mr. Raghuvanshi will share, of course, today it's very difficult to get to a hospital for anything at all. So we all have to make sure that risks are minimized. And the restaurant sector is at the front of that. Will that change the socializing experience? For sure. Can we make sure that it's still fun and enjoyable for people? We have to, and it will be.
Tell me also something, as it is, and I'm not sure it applies to Olive as much as some of the mid-level restaurants, as it is, even before the pandemic, you guys were getting beat by the food delivery apps, right? A lot of folks had moved away from the restaurant business to just having, kitchens. Do you think that, this would, in a sense, force people's hands, as it were, that they will just say, there's no point opening up restaurants because, you have high fixed costs, and B, if the pandemic is going to be around for a while, people are not want to go to socialize and come out and eat. Why not just start a kitchen? It's cheaper, and you're not, competing against these behemoths in the food delivery business.
There's no doubt, Zaka, that this is a paradigm shift in the whole eating business, in the whole delivery business. It's totally changed. And therefore, the opportunities and what entrepreneurs will pursue will change as well. Most restaurants that are currently in dining format are not necessarily so geared up for the delivery format. Will there be good opportunity for people to just open what they call dark kitchens? For sure. Will people be eating out more? For sure. As you know, like also the work from home trend will now become very big. Yeah. And so the entire numbers in the game has changed and will continue to be different.
Okay, let me go back to Priya Paul. And again, hotel chains, of course, like yours, are dependent largely to people traveling, whether it's traveling for leisure or whether it's traveling for business, right? And both of those, you have on the one side, pandemic fears and people, generally being afraid of traveling. And two, what Mr. Singh referred to, even business travel, for example, people have discovered that work from home works just about fine. It might not be 100%, but it's still about 80%. So how are you going to factor in both of those elements, both travel for leisure and travel for business?
Well, I hope the 20% is going to kick in very fast. But, for our company, bars and restaurants are very, very central. So we are watching that space. And I just want to go back to what AD said. And for a lot of hotels that run good restaurants, I think the food delivery business, and of course at a niche and at the right price, has turned out to be quite lucrative at these past 2-3 months. So some of our restaurants have then been able to spin it out, and there are a lot of hotel restaurants of other companies also that have got into the business, as well as independent restaurants. It's a completely different business, but I think that's if you have increasingly work from home and people more at home, I think the delivery also, there's enough of room for good quality food delivery, not just middle of the road food delivery at home or in the office. So I think that's a big area for all of us to watch. And I think business travel or leisure travel, both will come back. It may take some time. The leisure travel, as we all know, will come back soon faster. But in some of our hotels, we're already seeing business travel, not just during the COVID, but immediately now as we are opening up, because there are meetings to be done, or there are logistic businesses or back-end businesses of IT and banking and consultancy, which need to be done by people being present together. So there will be new types of business for all of us. And until, as Arjun said, until we get a virus and get things organized, it will not be to the same scale. And of course, we have restrictions on, say, weddings. Weddings can only be 50 people and below. But I think we've already have inquiries for those weddings because, people are social, people need to meet and they need to engage, whether it's for business meetings or for social occasions. So I think they start, and I think we make small steps and go forward.
Let me go to Mr. Arjun Sharma. And one of the things, again, I'm very curious about this, is that researchers have found that this virus obviously spreads much faster indoors in indoor settings than it does in outdoors. Now, I know malls have a mix of indoors and outdoors. I mean, you use your outdoors largely for, flea markets and some shows and stuff like that. But do you think architecturally itself, maybe because of the pandemic, you might have to rewire the way, your malls are arranged and designed?
So, if you look at the guidelines that just came out maybe half an hour back from the Ministry of Health, there is a whole section on air conditioning, especially with shopping centers. Now, I must say the Ministry of Home, the NDMA, the Ministry of Health have all worked with the Shopping Center Association of India. Actually, these are our guidelines, and these are the guidelines that we have given to them from learning from literally across the world where shopping centers have opened in, for example, China, in the United States, in Dubai. And we have worked along with what are called the CPWD guidelines on air conditioning. So what's really happened is that in order to make this as safe as possible, we're going to follow the CPWD guidelines, which are very clear on humidity, temperature, fresh intake. Yes, it adds a bit of cost to our operations. It adds because the more fresh air that you get into the system, more you have to cool the place. But I think for the moment, these guidelines are very thorough. They've been well worked out with the industry, and I must congratulate the government that at least there is a lot of clarity. So, for instance, I don't know if you saw the past guidelines. There was this one funny rule that said there should be only 5 or 6 people in a store. Now, if you have a 25,000 square foot H&M or a Zara or a Pantaloon, you can only take 5 people. And if you, let's say, have a Forest Essential store, which is 500 square feet, you can also have 5. So I think they've clarified a lot around that. And I think we as the shopping center will go across some of these guidelines. So for example, we are saying that we will not take more than 75 square foot or 100 square foot per person in the shopping centers. So I think we will exercise even more concern.
So Raghuvanshi, I'll get the final word from you. And again, it's related to travel because, medical tourism, as it were, was a big churner, a revenue churner for you folks. Do you see that coming back in the way that it existed the pre-COVID times?
Absolutely. I think, there was a need for people to travel for complex procedures. In many geographies around, it's not available. So I think that is only a matter of time as the travel restrictions ease out. I think that business will be back because that's a very pressing need, not only the international patients, but within the country. I think there is a lot of movement happens where people travel from one city to the other or one region to the other. And that business is absolutely going to be back whenever the travel restrictions ease out.
All right. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. It's been a fascinating conversation, this. Dr. Raghuvanshi, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Singh, And Priya Paul, of course, thanks very much for joining us. And good luck to all of you. You know, we need you guys just as much as, you know, you need us. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. So with that, it's a wrap of Swabhiman Bharat, this special edition on how to kickstart the restaurant, malls and hospitality sector. That's a wrap of this special edition. This goes up on our website, news18.com. From me, Zaka Jacob, and the rest of the team, thanks for your time.